Please silence your devices, stand for the pledge of flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, can we have roll call, please?
Amo.
Here.
Cheney.
Here.
Fagion.
Here.
Hines.
Here.
Paduk. Sierra. Segenga.
Here.
Riskevich.
Here.
6 present, 2 absent.
Okay. First up, we have County Executive's Office. A, request confirmation of Richard B. Golden as Orange County Attorney, appointment to be effective May 17th, 2022. Is legislative request number 080. Could I get a motion in a second, please?
I got a second.
Mr. Fagion and okay, Mr. Ford, it's all yours.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm here making the same request that I made at the PNC committee last day or two ago. And Mr. Golden has been appointed county attorney by County Executive Newhouse. And we're here to bring you in person and to seek a confirmation of that appointment. There's no quantity, these resumes you have. If you have any questions, myself or Mr. Golden, we're available.
This did pass unanimously the other day in PNC. Open it up to questions from committee members.
I have a question, but I'd like to be added as a sponsor to that, please.
Okay, you can do that.
Yeah.
Ahead of session.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, I'll call a question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes
Thank
unanimously.
you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you,
starting
members of the
May
committee. Thank you.
18th, May
What?
18th,
May 17th.
17th.
Yep.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the confirmation of appointment of Damian J. Brady to the position of administrator in the Office of Assigned Counsel pursuant to the provisions of local law 2 of 2022, Orange County Charter in terms of to expire May 5th, 2028.
Can I get a motion in a second?
So moved.
Thad Jones, and then get.
Damian is here, and I can answer questions, or he can answer questions.
Okay, any questions? Mr. King?
Yes, I'd like to address it to Damian. In terms of the split of the work, administrative versus, I guess, guiding attorneys that are part of the program and providing those services to the individual clients. Could you just talk a little bit about that and your experience in both those areas?
Okay, well, with respect to administration, what I anticipate right now, I speak to attorneys, especially with respect to the contractors we have. We run our centralized arraignment parts. We have 10 lawyers. I speak to them fairly frequently. We have meetings fairly frequently. With respect to the lawyers themselves, currently, I answer questions for our current assigned counsel plan administrator, who is a vendor. He answers those questions. What I would anticipate in the beginning, before the staff is fully built out, I probably would be spending more along the lines of 60% dealing with lawyers and 40% on admin. But as the staff is built out, something you and I have discussed, we have ultimately the goal is to have 2 additional lawyers to handle programs. I think that would probably settle in the opposite direction, where 40% would probably be dealing with lawyers directly and 60% would probably be administration. That's what I would anticipate. So currently, like I said, I answer questions. A lot of these lawyers have my cell phone number. So if they have a question, I pick up the phone. I deal with judges as well. I speak frequently with with Forrest Strauss, who's the head of the Judges Association for the county. I speak with him frequently. Judge Clarino, his predecessor, I speak to him a lot. And then from time to time, I speak to the sheriff's office about administrative issues relative to the CAP, the district attorney's office as well, state police, the chiefs association. So it kind of goes in cycles, but I would say, right now it's like I said, probably 60-40, but it will probably turn once I have a larger staff.
And then just a kind of a follow-up, what do you see implementing so that the individuals who are using these services get the best possible services provided to them?
Well, I think The answer is very simple. We're going to be checking the work. We're going to be following up on a case-by-case basis, especially when you get into the larger cases, the felony cases, the violent felony cases, things that we spend the most of our resources on. We're going to be making sure that they have investigators, making sure that they follow with experts. We're going to be making sure that they take CLE classes. If they do not want to follow the program, they won't be on the panel. I mean, it's going to be part of the integrated training program. So if you want to receive the extra benefit of the program, which we're going to provide, the expectation is that you go through the training, that you attend the CLEs, that these are continuing education classes for the program. And if you don't intend to do that, then we don't necessarily are going to be able to have them on the panel. So we're going to enforce it by, and I think that this sounds punitive, but it really isn't. I think a lot of the attorneys are going to receive a tremendous benefit because they're not going to be paying for services they have to pay for right now. So they're going to get training for free. They're going to get legal research for free. They're going to receive services from us. They're going to have opportunity to use experts and provide for their cases better. In that scenario, I can't see how somebody wouldn't want to be on the panel and receive those services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I had email.
Just a quick question. I know this is funded under a state grant,
Correct.
and what, so it's 6 years?
It's a 5-year grant, but the grant rolls forward. So to the extent that we do not spend within 5 years, the grant continues. And my understanding from speaking from the people from ILS, that this program will continue onward because essentially it's a result of a settlement of a lawsuit. So
And how much is that, the grant, and how much, and what will your salary be?
the total grant is 23,800,000 over a 5-year period. My salary is going to be set by the state, by ILS. That has not been done yet. That budget has not been finalized. So, but it'll be somewhere in the range of the grade 29. So I would bet it would be somewhere between the legal aid's chief assistant position, which is scheduled at 155, and the chief attorney legal aid society, which is budgeted at 169. So somewhere between those two numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Sir, Hines.
Yeah, are you gonna be picking the lawyers to handle the cases, or the judges still gonna do that?
The judges pick the lawyers. They will continue to pick the lawyers off the panel that they wish to use. The only lawyers that I necessarily would be picking would be the ones who would work in the office to provide support.
Oh, you're gonna have an office there?
There will be, well, there are 2 people who are part of the grant who are working for us currently. There is a data officer and a community resource a position. And then ultimately, we have a secretarial position, which you approved last month, which would be filled. There is a vacant account clerk 2 position, which is for bill paying. And then ultimately, there'll be 2 lawyers, which the goal is to have those hired when they're budgeted by the state. And then obviously we have to come to you to create them. But those are, so the total of 7, and they're all state funded. And they all would disappear in the event that the funding disappears.
So all the 18B lawyers now that you see sitting in the courtrooms, they're still gonna be sitting there looking for assignments and things like that? That's not gonna change?
No, it will not change. No, it will not change. We're just going to manage them and train them better in order to do their jobs more effectively.
Do they have to come to you for approval for these expenses, or how does that process work? In other words, they want an expert. You have to say yes, or they hire it and then you tell them how much?
They come to, well, the process is dual right now. So the process in the past was they had to go to a judge in order to get to an ex parte order to request services under 722C of the county law. Now with the grant, there's an application process where they actually ask the assigned council plan administrator for approval to utilize the grant funds. And so, yes, they would come to the assigned council plan administrator for that approval, for the experts and for the investigators and translators and secondary expenses.
Are you gonna compile a list of experts for them, or they're gonna?
Yes, and we do have essentially investigators which work frequently with the panel in the past. So we have, that's something that Jim Rowe compiled. And experts as well. But the idea, yes, is to expand the scope of that expert panel and expand the scope of the investigator panel to make sure the resources. The intention, of course, is to make sure that especially when you get into situations with violent felonies or complex nonviolent felonies like drug cases, that you would make sure that investigators and experts were available for those purposes. And we'd be watching those cases to make sure that to the extent they're not requested, that we're going to push those services to make sure that those cases get done properly.
You just mentioned Mr. Monroe. Will he still have a piece of this with respect to reviewing bills, or is that going on?
Well, what they're doing, and this is the state's prerogative, is at the moment they are combining the two positions. My current position, which is Chief Assistant of Indigent Legal Services, and his position into one position, which is this one. But we are working on the budget because, as I've said to ILS and I've said to Mr. Monroe, you don't want to lose good people, especially people who are very experienced. So we're working on a position to see if we can work something to have a position for him once this is all finalized.
So you'll be reviewing the bills, not?
Correct, absolutely.
Does the Bar Association still play a role, or are they out?
They're pretty much out, very limited. We obviously, the Bar Association will have a role because they ultimately will suggest a board member for the Office of Assigned Counsel Board of Directors. And I have spoken to Craig Brown, who's the current president of the Bar Association, about what we're doing and a number of other things relative to the program. So,
Don't we have a contract with Mr. Monroe right now?
We do,
yes,
How's that gonna play out?
but we're gonna have to redefine Jim's contract. There's gonna be a role for that service. We think there's a private sector role. Speaking as the former county attorney who worked with Damien to get this program to the ground, how that role is gonna play out is a little bit TBD.
Thanks.
Other questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes
Thank
unanimously.
you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
thank you, everyone.
Okay, next up, we have Alan Sorensen, Commissioner of Planning Department. A, request for authorization to apply for and accept a Federal Transit Administration grant, matching New York State grant and the local match. These funds are apportioned to Orange County via the federal 5339 funding program. The total TA grant amount is $1,401,104. The New York State match is $175,138, and the local match is $175,138. The local share will be provided by the municipalities and local operators of services. These funds will be used to purchase transit vehicles for fixed route transit services operated within Orange County. Legislative request number 067. Motion second. Second. Megan. Okay, Mr. Sorensen, floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, these funds will be used to purchase transit vehicles for the fixed route services. Specifically, this is a federal grant, FTA 5339 funds that will lapse if they're not applied for this year. Due to a large ridership increase in the village of Curious Joel, it's been determined that they should receive 3 additional buses for the fixed route service. So the village will be providing the local share for these buses, so there's no county match required. I also would mention that we anticipate that there'll be some additional funding left over, which may provide us the ability to purchase an additional bus for other service providers. That is yet to be determined. But that is our hope, that there'll be some funding left over from this, and we can assist some of the other bus service providers that we administer.
Okay, questions? Mr. Kenny?
Any of these going to be alternative fuel vehicles?
Not at the present moment. That is something that we are looking at for future. One of the challenges that we have is just getting the EV charging infrastructure in place that's necessary. We have about a year ago initiated an alternative fuel fleet study for our bus service providers. Recommendation is to move ultimately to EV vehicles. However, there's a lot of additional steps before we get there. So the next step of that would be to a real feasibility study and plan for how we integrate and create that EV charging infrastructure that would be necessary.
Orange and Rockland, I just saw, I think, received yesterday, they're offering like 90% matching.
I saw
for-
that as well, yeah. That's something we'll look into as well. The other thing too is, our bus service in the county is a bit unique in that we have 15 different bus operators that we contract with. So we'll have to coordinate that with each of those entities as well.
And are these buses that are under this approval, are they local buses or are they
These will be local
city to
buses.
city? Okay.
We are working concurrently on a contract for additional commuter buses for Coach USA. So that's moving forward. We're hoping to piggyback off a contract from Georgia, actually. on those.
Legislature,
Hi, thank you. The three buses that we're looking at putting in Kiers, Joel, would that be Palm Tree, or is that going to also include the surrounding? I'm not sure how the bus system works over there. I'm familiar with Middletown.
This is specifically for the village.
Okay, only because they have expanded past the village. That's why I was just looking to see if they're going to be utilizing these to bring it outside of that particular area.
There's, they may, I would say, they're being purchased with the intent that they're being used to service the village.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure of that. Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. Next up, B, we have request legislative approval for the planning department's DVE program, which is required to be maintained due to federal transit administration regulations. Program is subject to amendment as necessary to ensure compliance with federal law and FDA regulations governing the subject matter of such programs. Resolution number 54 of 2016 previously approved any necessary changes. This request is to officially approve 2022 program updates. Legislative request number 68. Can I get a motion in a second, please?
Second.
Jones. Okay. Go ahead.
So as is alluded to in the description, these amendments are to update the DBA program to align with the FDA regulations, which do change from time to time. One highlight is that it also includes the DBE appointment of a DBE liaison officer, which traditionally has been the Commissioner of Planning. So I'm so named in this document as the DBE liaison officer. And the purpose of doing this is so that it aligns with the current FDA policies.
Okay, questions? Hearing none, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Katie Benelli, Chairwoman, and Kathy Svenga, Chair, Orange County Economic Development Gaming Committee, Special Committee, Orange County Legislature, new Orange County appointment to the Board of Directors of the Catskill Region Off-Track Betting Corporation. Can I get a motion in a second? Joan and Hines.
Yeah. Yeah, you can come on. Thank you, Kathy. The action before you is pretty self-explanatory, but let me take a moment to kind of advise all of you. I think most of you realize from the various different emails you've received at the office, or some of you are even participants and members of the gaming committee, the Economic Development Gaming Committee that we have here in Orange County. So this is what has led us to this. We were initially contacted by Albany Times Union, who had uncovered a situation with reports from the Inspector Generals of the Gaming Commission, as well as the State Comptroller's Office. These reports dated back to 2018 and thereabouts. They were never released at the direction of Governor Cuomo, from what we understand. Governor Kathy Hochul has since released those reports, and that's what happened with the newspaper. Former county attorney Langdon Chapman was made aware of it And we made legislator Amo aware of it as well, since I'm sure we'll all agree that he's kind of our guru when it comes to Catskill OTB and the thoroughbred racing family. So we looked into that a little bit. We also asked for these reports because we were never given them, nor was any of the 10-member counties. Catskill OTB is comprised of 10 counties. And we've been a member for a very, very long time. Each county has a member that sits on that board, and that board is responsible for hiring a director who happens to be Mr. Don Groff, and I think most of you here have met him. And I'm sure that I actually had attended many OTB meetings that we had here, and we were very displeased at the lack of knowledge and enthusiasm we received from Mr. Don Groff. Then the pandemic hit and things certainly seemed to happen. So I'm not going to go through all of that. We reviewed the reports from the State Comptroller's Office as well as the Attorney General for the Gaming Commission. And that led us to say we have to take a careful look at this. I contacted my colleagues in the other 10 counties, and ones that were pretty close to us, meaning Putnam, Rockland, Dutchess, Ulster. And the first meeting we had was a Microsoft Teams meeting to lay out a plan of action for us. And then we also contacted, because at that particular meeting, we decided to send a joint letter to, we have that letter, Nancy. March 23rd. Yes, the March 23rd letter. And we sent a letter to the Attorney General, as well as the district attorneys in Rockland and our own district attorney, and that was hand delivered to Mr. Dave Hoopler. We sent it to Rockland because Rockland seems to be the home of the Catskill OTB, and where all of these meetings were held and where some of the properties are that were part of Catskill OTB. And we also sent it to Senator Skoufis, who's the chairman of the Senate Investigation Committee. We have asked them to take a careful look at this. Senator Skoufis very quickly responded, and he has bills pending to address this particular situation in Albany as we speak. So one of the things that is recommended, one of the things we found out, if you recall, a while ago, we appointed Ben Ostra to be our board member on the Gaming Commission. We found out that that paperwork that Mr. Ostra filled out, and we believe wherever he sent it, it was never processed. And we kept being shown as having a vacant member. It is now recommended, and it was recommended in either the comptroller's reports or the Attorney General report, that we have a whole new board, we replace them. So the action that you have here this afternoon is to replace Mr. Oster, who has no desire to be able to, for various different reasons, to be able to continue, although he never had the opportunity to serve, and never really was listed on the roster at all. So I relied very heavily on former county attorneys, Mr. Langdon Chapman, for some advice as far as trying to find a member, because this is of the utmost importance, especially when the budget was being drafted at the time. And we all know that some monies were released before, and we don't want any of the monies to be released again to an entity that we don't have control of. So at this point, I notified Chairwoman Mr. Ganga of the Economic Development and Gaming Committee that I would like to have that advisory committee review that appointment. They did. They held their meeting yesterday, and they appointed the gentleman to my left here, Mr. John Dupay. And he is from the firm of Dupay and Monroe.
Correct.
And I think a lot of people had the bio yesterday. I don't know, did the people in this committee get the bios as well? Okay. All right, so at this point, I'm asking for his appointment, and he wasn't able to come yesterday. But actually, you do see some of the people that were here yesterday that sit on that committee. So, Lang, did you add anything at this point?
Thank you for listening to us. And I appreciate Mr. Dupay's willingness to serve, because this is, as I semi-joked yesterday, I talked to different people. I said, how'd you like to serve on a board that was subject to an inspector general's report that got shelved by the Homeland Administration for 3 warehouses that are filled with old junk in Rockland County they haven't met in over a year? How do you want to do that? Mr. Dupay said, I'm in.
But we're very grateful.
He's a public-minded individual, and I'm grateful for that service.
I will do my best.
Betsy, did you want to add anything?
No, that seemed sufficient, yeah.
I'm not know any questions, so Legislator Hines?
Yeah, yesterday, the committee, we actually voted to have, I think Langdon volunteered to do it, to send a letter to the Rockland County District Attorney and to CC the Orange County District Attorney, and who else were we sending?
We apparently already did it, Mr. Hines.
Okay.
That letter.
Betsy reminded me we did it 3 weeks ago.
Yes, that
We
letter
did it dated March 23rd.
Yes.
Is there resistance to what's going on? I mean, to getting access to the information here or?
It's so
waiting for a
new.
response?
It's so new, unfortunately, the kind of scandal. So we need smart people like yourself, John, who are willing to ask the tough questions. So I joke about it, but, have a smart lawyer who does a tremendous, civil and criminal defense practice that you and Jim Monroe do
We can
together.
peel back the onion and hopefully try to find out what's going on here.
Well, yeah, not only that, but we also want reporting. In other words, as our designee to that board, if you could get us minutes, if the meetings happen, if you're stonewalled out of the meeting, like it seems like Mr. Oster may have been, and I'm told the Dutchess County representatives may or may not have been involved in meetings either. So the individual who has been running this operation, Mr. Groth, has reported to us over the years, but he's come to us in such a position where he says, this is actually a quote, if he doesn't get video lottery terminals, he might as well go out of business. He was sitting on $12 million on money that was reserved specifically for capital improvement. And because of, even prior, I believe, to COVID, he sort of shut down and wasn't doing anything aggressive. Mr. Amo can tell you, the guy who runs Albany is phenomenal and is making money hand over fist. And we had no money for 2 years and then got a little bit of money last year. So we're looking to pump that up again, and we're looking to hopefully move Mr. Groth out of that position and have the new board hire someone with some ability, computer technology, horse racing background, marketing background, like a full rounded individual to really spearhead this and run it for us. So we're hoping that you would be the person that would want to do that. Also, if there's money missing, we would like it back. So that's another reason to have someone with your experience in that seat to hopefully try to recover. So I don't know if we can, because we don't know if it's mismanagement or criminal. We leave that to the experts such as yourself and hopefully the district attorneys to review. But I mean, OTB was created to support counties, and it seems like it's just gone by the wayside.
They have a
We even asked
monopoly
Mr.
on off-track betting and they seem
Yeah.
to lose money all the time.
Yeah.
I've never understood it myself.
We asked him
Maybe
point
now I'll
blank,
learn why.
what can you do to fix this? And he said, nothing unless you give me video lottery terminals. That was his answer. So there was no aggressive management. Obviously, if he's paying rent for useless properties and things of that nature. So I think you got a big job ahead of you, and I thank you for serving.
Do the best that I can.
Okay, Legislator Amo?
Thank you very much. Mr. Dupay, I think we're all excited about bringing somebody on that will kind of help us get to the bottom of this. And Mr. Hines mentioned the Capital District operation, John Signor. Guy is incredible for what he's doing up there in terms of dealing with off-track betting. When in fact, it's a difficult thing to get into. The competition is huge. If you're familiar at all, think called advanced deposit wagering accounts, where you can bet on your phone or your iPad. The example is that John Signor told me directly that when they shut down and throughout the COVID, he almost doubled his revenue, a huge amount of his revenue on ADW because people were home betting. We looked at Catskill, we didn't see any of that. So the question, there was a whole gap there.
Yep.
So I only have one question for you. How many furlongs in a mile?
I have not a clue.
Okay, I'm not sure I can vote now.
I figured him not knowing would be a benefit.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you, but I'll.
Well, the answer is 8. There's actually 8.
Services.
The answer is 8.
He's not eligible.
I'm gonna write that down.
I mean, for bringing.
Oh, yes.
For the terminologies and the help.
And there's 10 of them. There's 10 of them in the Kentucky Derby, which is around the quarter, which are going to happen in 2 weeks.
But he's only phone call away too.
All right, Legislator Fagion?
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to welcome you here to the meeting this afternoon. Thank you for coming. But I also want to take a moment and compliment some people in the room. Our chairwoman, Katie Benelli, took this by the reins. Is that what you can say? By the reins. And only in New York State, with a government in Albany that is full of corruption for centuries, it seems, that something as simple as wagering could be a loser. Only in New York State can that happen. And so it's more of a statement than a question to you, but we have experts here in the room and with Mr. Amo. And I will say that our chairwoman and Mr. Chapman, they have been so strong in saying this. Number one, we need to seat someone on this board that is going to get this board turned around. Orange County's taking the lead on this. You are going to be our leader on that 10-county board. You are our point man on that. We are going to give you the faith to go out there and to make sure that we get someone to run Catskill OTB, if that's what the future is, that's going to make us money. And so you're our point man on that. You have people here that will support you. And as Mr. Hines said, bring back the information to us, work with us, we will work with you. But it was Orange County that took the lead on this, and our chairwoman, she was right on top of this. And so you have an ally right there. So if you're willing to jump in, as Mr. Chapman said, into what seems to be a quagmire here, we will give you all the support we can. And the line of communication has to be open with us. So we welcome you here, and I hope that everyone will support you, and I think they will. And I'm excited for the future for you and for OTB.
As much.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you all very much. And my
Congratulations.
gratitude to, just let me, I would like to recognize, as Tom, did, and thank you for the kind words, but between Langdon, Betsy, and Legislator Amo, they've done a phenomenal job, and even staff, with getting to 10 different county legislator chairmen and their representatives as well. And we were able to produce an additional letter signed by 5 or 6 of the other county chairs that went to the majority leader and president pro tem, the Honorable and Stuart Cousins, James Sclufis, Mike Marcucci, Joseph Abbadotto, who's the chairman of the Senate Racing Committee, Carl Pesty, Speaker, Mr. McDonald, who's the Assembly Investigatives Committee, Assembly Racing Committee Chairman, as well as the New York State Department of Budget, because, and Betsy, we basically, there has been money that was allocated in the budget. We want to make sure that we have all of these people in place, such as John, and from the other counties as well, because we want to be able to, first of all, terminate all the directors. We're doing our part. The other counties have also been told about all of this, and we all agree on the 5 terms that are in this particular letter. And authorizing the director of the state commission to designate a temporary chair to convene the meeting and get it going under a new administration that will be able to have more transparency, because those reports, they were definitely kept somewhere and never, ever released. And the report stated, and I think you all got the reports recently or a while ago, there were never any minutes. They didn't have any meetings. And then they were going to rent space in a hotel to hold a meeting many, many years ago when they were paying rent for warehouses. So we really want to get to the bottom of this. And as I said, I really wanted to thank the people that helped me be able to facilitate all this, and especially Mr. DePay. And we'll keep a close eye on this, and we'll keep advising you. And I'm sure you're going to be having another meeting soon. So we thank you for that. And thank you all.
We'll report back.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next up, we have Betsy Abraham, our Legislative Counsel, Home Rule Resolution of the Orange County Legislature in support of Senate Bill number S8714 and Assembly Bill number A9643 to amend the judiciary law in relation to the appointment of grand jury stenographers in Orange County. Second motion and second, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Betsy, go ahead.
Okay, so this is fairly straightforward. As you may recall, we recently passed a resolution requesting for our local state legislators to introduce legislation to amend the judiciary law, certain provisions of it as it pertains to stenographers within the Orange County region pursuant to a request by the Orange County DA's office. This is the second part of that process. Now, those bills have been introduced by Assemblywoman Gunther. That particular bill is A9674. And Senator Skoufis, I believe, introduced bill number S8714. So at this point, what we're doing with this resolution is essentially asking for is that we're supporting these particular bills.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to take a moment and thank you, Betsy. This is the consistency that you always deliver for us. You know, we sometimes get, oh, we got to pass this, we got to pass that. We come to you and you put it together and then we pass it on the floor. And I just want to compliment you on bringing this back now that there are these bills in Albany, that we're going to follow through on this. So I appreciate your hard work on this.
Thank
all that
you.
do for us.
To that end, I'd like to just say the staff is phenomenal. As you all know, this is my 1 year being here. And so Jean is just a phenomenal teacher in all of this too. So were it not for her assistance in doing this, likely would not be here. So to that end, I'd like to say that it is definitely a team effort. And so any thanks to me is also thanks to our clerk and our staff as well.
Other comments? All right, hearing none, call the question, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. And that is it, so I look for a motion to adjourn.
One here.
Anyone?
Second.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.